If you clicked on this video, you've probably wondered at least once why most tanks were painted green, while German ones were often gray. At first glance, it may seem like simple design or military tradition, but in reality, every shade had very specific reasons behind it. From terrain and climate to resource shortages and even industrial limitations. The color of a tank was a matter of survival from the very first day of war. On the modern battlefield, where artillery, aviation, and now drones dominate, visibility is a critical issue. In World War I, tanks were gray or khaki because they were designed for static positions in Europe. But by World War II, everything had changed. Tanks moved quickly, crossed hundreds of kilometers, and their silhouette had to blend into the landscape. So why did most tanks around the world become green or olive? The answer is simple. Green is the most universal color for most theaters of war. Forests, fields, and steppes across Europe and Asia in summer and autumn are predominantly green or yellow-green. The olive shade used by the Americans and the USSR absorbed light well and created less contrast against grass, foliage, and even dry earth. It did not glare in sunlight like gray and did not stand out in winter as much as dark gray. Green provided effective camouflage in 70 to 80% of temperate climate conditions, and it was easy to manufacture using available pigments such as iron and chromium oxides. That is why Soviet T-34, American Shermans, and British Crusaders rolled off the production line in that color. It was a compromise between ideal camouflage and the ability to paint thousands of vehicles per month without slowing production. Different countries approached camouflage differently because each had its own climate, logistics, and industrial capabilities. The USSR, for example, simplified everything because of total war and shortages. Factories painted tanks in one standard green because it was cheap, dried quickly, and was versatile enough for the Eastern Front. Germany initially adhered to strict Panzer Grey standardization for Europe, believing gray provided better camouflage in urban and forested areas. The United States and Britain used olive drab, which was more yellowish because they fought in both North Africa and Europe. Japan painted its tanks dark green with a brown tint adapted for jungle warfare. German tanks are a classic example of how color changed with the war. Until 1943, they were gray. But when the Wehrmacht became bogged down in the USSR and Africa and began suffering pigment shortages, in February 1943, Hitler signed an order switching production to dunkelgelb, dark yellow, almost sandy. Why? First, gray required rare pigments that were becoming scarce. Second, yellow sand tones worked better in the Ukrainian steppes, the deserts of Africa, and even autumn fields. It was a sign that the war had become global, and one European color no longer fit every battlefield. Crews received cans of camouflage paste and painted patterns themselves, giving birth to the famous ambush camouflage. But not every theater favored green. In the deserts of Africa and the Middle East, tanks were painted sand, beige, or light yellow. British and German vehicles in Tunisia and Libya received desert sand. In winter conditions, on the Eastern Front or in the Arctic, factory paint was simply covered with whitewash or temporary white paint that could be washed off in spring. In cities and ruins, gray-brown tones were used. Some tanks even received improvised urban camouflage patterns with gray and brown squares. Production often dictated color more than tactics did. During wartime, factories ran constantly, and paint itself became a scarce resource. In the USSR, instead of ideal standard green, they sometimes used whatever green was available, even leftover tractor paint. In Germany, Allied bombings disrupted pigment deliveries, so Panzer IVs and Tigers could leave factories in noticeably different shades of dunkelgelb. Americans, with their massive chemical industry, maintained olive drab standards more consistently, though even they sometimes switched to cheaper alternatives. As a result, crews often repainted vehicles themselves. Factory color was only the base coat. In the field, tankers mixed mud, lime, charcoal, branches, and camouflage nets. Soviet crews whitewashed T-34s in winter, while German crews applied camouflage paste over Dunkelgelb. Modern tanks such as M1 Abrams, Leopard 2, and T-90 are still painted in similar base colors, green or sand. But the principles have changed. Now camouflage is designed not only against the human eye, but also against thermal imagers, drones, and satellites. Special paints with anti-infrared pigments reduce thermal signature. Many armies use multi-layer coatings that change reflectivity depending on viewing angle. NATO's standard is green with modular camouflage nets. Factories still deliver tanks in one base color because it is faster and cheaper, while crews or maintenance units add digital camouflage or advanced coatings later. So in the end, a tank's color is not just aesthetics. It is a story of human ingenuity, industrial power, and the brutal realities of war. From Panzer Grey to modern anti-thermal coatings, every layer of paint tells the story of how nations tried to make their tanks invisible.